Hollywood has left scratching their head after two different Japanese films have decided, let's just go ahead and murder the box office. Not only has Godzilla Minus One proven to be an absolute force of destruction numerically when it comes to people bringing in box office numbers, but also Hayao Miyazaki's The Boy and the Heron is looking to crush the numbers as well, which leaves me to beg the question, what are Japanese films doing that Western films aren't? Why does there seem to be this itch that only Japanese films, or maybe foreign films in general, are scratching that Hollywood just can't grasp? Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle. We're going to take a look at several news articles talking about the success of Hayao Miyazaki's The Boy and the Heron, as well as the very recent success, and honestly continuing success, of Godzilla Minus One, and see what we can come up with in terms of why American films are failing, but clearly the movie industry itself is not dead when you look at the box office performance of these Japanese films. But before we do that, hit the subscribe button. We are trying to get to 2,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and we've got like 40 left. I mean, you could be one of the last 40 to help get your boy to 2,000 subscribers, and you would be incredible for doing so. This is how we save nerd culture. This is how we keep politics out of nerd culture, is we make sure we're all of a like mind and that we want to talk about this culture and what it means to us as nerds. That's enough of that. Let's get into it. Hayao Miyazaki's The Boy and the Heron growing to 10 million to 12 million opening. Renaissance loses glam with 74% drop. I'm not going to cover too much of the Renaissance stuff. I don't care about that. But $10 to $12 million opening. G-Kids, The Boy and the Heron is the distributor's biggest opening ever, with a 3-day between $10.7 to $12 million after a 5.56 million Friday previews. 5.56. I don't think you guys understand how massive that is. 5.5 million on opening night previews for a foreign film, many of which were subtitled. That is impressive, and we've seen numbers like that now for both Godzilla. Actually, this has gotten even more. If I remember, I think Godzilla only had 3 million opening night numbers, so I could be misremembering, but this movie's doing even better than Godzilla Minus One. Godzilla Minus One is subtitles only. There are dubbed versions of this out there, which means it's probably going to have an even larger opening, larger legs to stand on. Also, this is far more of a family film. I mean, it's Studio Ghibli. Studio Ghibli is known for being just magical family entertainment. Not to say Godzilla was for families. I mean, there were little kids at the showing that I went to, but, you know, let's be real. Which do you think of more when it comes to family entertainment? Studio Ghibli or Godzilla? In my opinion, obviously Ghibli. Point is, this has had a massive opening day and is going on to look like a fantastic opening weekend, following a similar trajectory as Godzilla, just a week after the fact. So there's something that Japanese studios are doing that is scratching all sorts of itches that Hollywood isn't covering, because we have seen multiple bombs this year. Now, we have seen some big hits, don't get me wrong. We've seen the Barbie movie. The Barbie movie was a smashing success. The Barbie movie is honestly the largest grossing film of the year. However, it seems like it's kind of the exception, not the rule. Oppenheimer did very well, absolutely did very well, but that's to be expected. It's a Christopher Nolan film. Nah, I want to focus on a different film. Besides The Boy and the Heron, besides Godzilla, there was another smashing success this year that we might actually call Japanese. The Super Mario Bros. Movie. I know, technically it's Illumination, Western studio, right? But Nintendo has been adamant about their level of involvement. They are a Japanese company. They had their hand in this film. It was partially a Japanese production. So really, if you want to look at it, we've not had 2, but 3 massive Japanese productions this year, with one of them being the second highest grossing film of the year after Barbie. I mean, Mario is easily the second place winner. So when you've got such critically and, more importantly, fan acclaimed movies, I mean, yeah, critics didn't like Mario, but fans adored Mario, hence its massive multi-billion-dollar box office. And then you've got these incredible opening weekends for things like Godzilla and The Boy and the Heron. Obviously, Japan is cornering a market. They have tapped into something that America, that Hollywood is missing from its own populace. Let's continue with this article, but it's something to think on. The overall marketplace, though sluggish, isn't as bad as we thought, with around 69 million, which is up 82% from a year ago. Well, at least we're seeing things recover. Hopefully the films are recovering with it. Thank God for small miracles. G-Kid's previous 3-day record was Makoto Shinkai's Weathering With You back in 2020, which posted 1.8 million. And yeah, I can believe this. I went to the Weathering With You showings, and when it debuted, I saw the subbed version, and I think it only was a sub version at the time, actually. I don't think it debuted in the theaters dubbed, so that could be part of the reason for its small opening. But I'm going out, this is 2020, I could be misremembering. Either way, look, it was it wasn't a packed theater, let's be real. There were some weebs there like your boy, but you were looking sparse. You had maybe, 20, 30 people in the theater tops. So, yeah, I'm glad to see that The Boy and the Heron is able to compensate for the lackluster performance of Weathering With You. Although, if you haven't seen Weathering With You, dude, get it, especially on Blu-ray. It'll be worth your time. But anyway, The Boy and the Heron is standing on high marks with an A- cinema score, 4.5 stars, and a 65% definite recommend. Mostly guys, not all, at 54%, with 80% of those who watch being between 18 and 34. Now, these demographics surprised me. I won't lie. The demographics of it, I mean, yeah, being mostly male doesn't really surprise me because as much as women are into anime nowadays, it's still a predominantly male hobby, and it's also pretty close to 50-50. I mean, yeah, it says 54% were male. Well, that means that 46% were female. That's very close. However, 80% of those who watch are between 18 and 34, with the highest demo being 25 to 34 at 44%. I didn't expect so many flat-out adult men to be the target audience for this, or at least be the demographic that made up for the sales, even if they weren't the target audience. That is pretty incredible. I mean, I expected it to be more kids, or more maybe parents taking kids, because Studio Ghibli is, at the end of the day, they're kind of the ultimate studio for child-friendly anime films. That's a surprise to me. Diversity demos are 43% Caucasian, 22% Latino, and Hispanic, 7% Black, and 27% Asian or other. PLF and IMAX are driving 38% of the gross so far, while the West is strong for the Hayao Miyazaki movie. The AMC Boston Commons is the highest grossing cinema in the nation at $39K, and we don't see them often in the lead. Well, good for you, Northeast, like specifically Boston. I'm glad Boston is getting the Hayao Miyazaki on, and they're getting to get a Philly while they watch themselves A Boy and a Heron, and you'll love to see it. They get in the car, they go take the family to a movie. I'm done with that. And there's some other victory laps for The Boy and the Heron. The movie's opening day easily best the domestic take of Miyazaki's last film, 2013's The Wind Rises. Fun fact, that is my second favorite Miyazaki film of all time, 5.2 million, and will rep the highest opening gross for a Studio Ghibli film. It says it easily bests it, but The Wind Rises had a 5.2 million opening, when this one has a, what did they say it was, 5.56? It actually didn't do too much better. In fact, when you adjust for inflation, I'd say The Wind Rises had a better opening. 5.2 million in 2013, I believe, 2013, The Wind Rises. 5.2 million is probably better than 5.56 million now, without a doubt. So, sorry, Deadline, I gotta call you out on your BS. This movie has actually had a worse opening than The Wind Rises. Post-editing Leon here, just confirming, I was wrong about that. They were talking about the entire opening weekend of The Wind Rises being, 5 million, as opposed to just opening day alone for Boy and the Heron was 5 million. So, my bad. Boy and the Heron is doing a stronger overall opening. My bad. Just wanted to throw that out there, correct that, because every now and again you make these videos, you do things in the moment, you misunderstand things, you get it wrong, and upon editing I realized, well, I'm an idiot. It's that simple. Anyway, back to the video. Boy and the Heron is the only entirely foreign production to top the weekend box office this year, and the first since Dragon Ball Super Superhero in August 2022. Now, this is just over a year ago, but this happened again a year ago, and this is one of the points of the article I wanted to point out. This isn't a new phenomenon. I mean, we've seen anime films do this before. I don't think we've seen full-on Japanese films do this before. Godzilla is the first. It's the highest grossing Japanese film ever released in Japan. But we've seen this with anime films, so there's clearly a market here that I don't think is being just looked at and frankly smiled upon by Hollywood. It's something they turn their nose up to when they want to make things like The Marvels, and they want to throw in all their diversity, higher wokeness, and I think that is a problem. I know people are going to roll their eyes at that. They're going to, Leon back on his wokeness stuff, but you gotta understand. Whereas the Japanese folks are just putting out fun, good movies that individuals want to see regardless of any political affiliation. Look at what's going on with our box office. The reason that Get Woke, Go Broke has become a moniker is because it's been happening over. I mean, you can look at multiple movies where that seems to be the case. Again, I personally don't think Barbie is exactly woke. A lot of people are going to jump to the point, well, Barbie's woke and it's the highest grossing film of the year. First of all, I don't think Barbie is that woke. Second of all, even if it is, exception not the rule. You're talking about one of the most famous, arguably the single most famous toy of all time getting a movie. just like Mario, you've got literal generations of fans. You've got like 4 generations of girls, grandmas, mas, children, great grandmas or children's children, just depending on how old the people are in your family. Mario and Barbie, they could have done anything and they would have made money, just purely based on the love of those IPs and how many generations of individuals alive today have grown up with those IPs. But other than that, when you look at something like, the Marvels, yeah, it didn't do so hot. The Little Mermaid didn't do so hot. You don't see Japan playing these games. Regardless of how you feel about Hollywood movies, you gotta admit, they are very divisive. Japan, on the other hand, they are making movies for themselves, for their own culture, so there are no divisive politics shoved into those movies. And then they go ahead, they export them to other countries, and lo and behold, other countries want to see them. These movies come to America, they don't see any divisive politics one way or the other, and it makes bank at the box office. It's not a difficult concept. And further proving it's not a difficult concept are a myriad of other articles. Godzilla Minus One is now the biggest live-action Japanese film in the US box office history. Or what about this one? Godzilla Minus One puts Hollywood to shame. It absolutely did put Hollywood to shame, but again, it's not just Godzilla Minus One. The Boy and the Heron, it's probably not going to get near as much coverage just because it's not, being a more family-oriented film and being animated, it's not going to attract the same sort of notoriety from the media as something like Godzilla will. But let's not discount The Boy and the Heron for doing the numbers it's doing. What about this one? Rave reviews and box office records, how Godzilla Minus One took the US by storm. Now, I don't believe that was the original title of this article. Here it is. Here's what the box office success of Godzilla Minus One can teach Hollywood. You hear that? What it can teach Hollywood. I mean, I said it already, but I will say it again. I'm gonna count Mario Bros. As at least a partial Japanese film because it was heavily hands-on worked on by the Japanese studio, despite being distributed and mostly created by Illumination. Then you got Godzilla and the Boy and the Heron. Maybe, just maybe, Hollywood will take note. They will see these films, look at what they've done, and think, we should do that. We should try and recapture it. You don't need to copy Asian or Japanese cinema. They've got their own distinctive style. They do their own thing. People that like Japanese cinema, they're going to go see it. But what are the ideas that they're putting in their films? Are a lot of them about family? Okay, you got strong family dynamics. People like that. Are they about honor? Well, everyone loves a good story about somebody honorable. Is it natural good versus evil? Or is there hope? Oh, no more of this area, this shades of gray stuff, this sort of, it's all subjective. It depends on the angle you look at it. No divisive social commentary or anything that pits genders or political opinions against one another. Maybe, just maybe, you take a look at these films. You look at Godzilla, you look at The Boy and the Heron, and you look at Mario, and you see the box office speaks for itself, and you remember, you're a business. You want to make money. And these movies can teach you how to make money. Not only that, people are loving them. People are eating them up. So not only are you making money, but you're going to continue to make money because people will get happy with the product you are producing. I mean, at this point, you got how many people's going to see Lady Ballers, the Daily Wire comedy that's, supposed to be rivaling Hollywood? Look, if you don't like the fact that Daily Wire's making movies and they're probably killing you numerically, at least in certain areas, certain demos, maybe just go back to making good movies. The Japanese can teach you how to do that. If you weren't so arrogant, maybe you'd figure that out. But those are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments below, or let me know on X, where you can find me at BoltTheWord. And please do subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day. Not always about Japanese films, or even films in general, but video games, anime, movies, music, you name it. Go ahead and find me on Instagram at wordsofparadise_Leon. It's all here in the Nerdosphere, and this has been Words of Paradise.